All right, everybody, welcome to another year and the first edition of the 2025 Armchair Football League Weekly Recap. I am joined with my co-host Steelbacker. Steel, how you doing?
Hey guys, we made it. We're here. We're alive. Kyle Shanahan didn't think we could do it, but we did.
Year five. It's exciting. Glad to be back, and I think we're just going to jump right into it. We're just going to go week by week here, break down the games for you, give a little insight into how the teams have fared so far this season. So, Steel, take us away. Which one are we starting with?
We're going game by game, not week by week.
That's
I
what
want
I
to make
meant.
that
Game
clear.
by
So
game.
we are essentially taking each game this week and giving a little bit of recap and sort of temperature check. And a temperature check, it's a great way to start with our first game here, our Thursday night football game. Seattle heading to Arizona, and both of these teams, to at least some extent, feel pretty cold right now. Specifically, Seattle, a team that I would have picked if we did our preview show. I would have picked them to win 10 games easy. Start off 0-3. Uh, it's just nothing's really lined up for them so far. That's kind of been the story so far. I don't know how much of them you've caught to this early going.
Yeah, I haven't caught too much of them. But yeah, I mean, looking at this roster, as you mentioned, looking like running it down pretty briefly, like there's no real spots that would make you go, oh, this team. There's a reason why this team is 0-3. I don't believe they've suffered really too many injuries. The only thing I could say is they played San Francisco, who's now 3-0. They played Pittsburgh, who's now I believe 2-1, and the Saints. Like that should have been a game that they won. Um, that's really the one where you go, all right, well, it might be time to check under the hood, make sure there's nothing too glaring that we need to address here. Um, but yeah, this is a game that they're going to need because Arizona, not a spectacular team by any means, and if you drop back to back weeks to the Saints and the Cardinals, that's it's not giving you much reason for optimism for the rest of the season. Especially since after that, I mean, it's pretty easy still. You have opportunities to get right with Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and Houston. Like so I thought that they would probably have a little bit of a harder schedule, but glancing at it pretty briefly, there are a lot of opportunities for them to get back on track if they do lose this week. But it's just at a certain point, you're just creating a Mount Everest for yourself in terms of trying to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of 0-4 teams that make the playoffs ever. I think we had one last year. Weirdly enough, I think we had 0-5 win it.
I don't think it's that uncommon because I think it's happened twice. We had the Tennessee the first year started 0-4, and I think they ended up making the playoffs. Like we get the swings in here. The records tend to average out.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not super uncommon, but I mean, I wouldn't love being there, especially with your division rival being 3-0.
Yeah.
Your path to division gets lighter. But the thing is, they're just not scoring points. Their defense is below average right now, but that can regress. But they are the fifth worst scoring offense.
Yeah.
They move the ball well, but I mentioned this in our live section that was not recorded for audio. But I wonder at some point, do we see JJ out there? Penix is better rated, but if he's not going to be able to pay off these, they're not forcing turnovers on defense. So that's part of it. Like, they're not turning the ball over. They've had one turnover a game. You can live with one turnover a game, but they have only forced one turnover. So kind of those things is what I'm looking at. But if they're going to be, a bottom 10 offense with this unit they've got there, I know their offensive line's a little shaky, but the weaponry is too good to not put up 20 points a game. Yeah. They're at 13.3 right now. So if that doesn't start regressing, you do start to look at that backup quarterback that they've invested in and see if they can't get a spark with him.
Well, it's the interesting thing with that, just pretty briefly, is like, for one, this is the first time we're ever seeing two quarterbacks taken with first round picks play on the same team. So that's an ACFL oddity. That it's an oddity that the ACFL allows for, I should say. But at a certain point, you run into this problem where neither quarterback really looks like a world beater in real life yet. Not saying they can't turn it around, not saying they're busts by any means, but at a certain point, especially for trying to just develop the quarterbacks in here to get, a boost in their ratings, you are going to have to pick one, and that's where, like, if you do make the switch, I don't know if you can switch back. That's the thing I would be worried about, because you do want to maximize their rating for future years. Otherwise, you're going to burn 2 first-round picks if neither of them pan out.
I do think, like, as far as the players go, like, I think we saw, in real life now, we've seen an example of a guy being benched and learning from it and not being over with his team with Bryce Young. So
Yeah,
maybe it's one of those things where he just, Penix is up here and he just needs a reset.
yeah,
He did play okay in his cup of coffee at the end of the year last year. So maybe it's just, a little sluggish to start a sophomore campaign, but
yeah.
it's not quite like, burn the house down, but it is interesting
It's
how
tough.
that goes. For Arizona, I just don't have very many takes. Their offense has been awesome. Like, and that's what you expected. Their defense is younger and it's struggling.
Yeah,
So I think you're just hoping that the defense starts to turn this around. Their yardage allowed is not poor. Like, they do a decent job. Like, they're middle of the pack in yardage allowed. They're just allowing a lot of points off the back of that. And they're not forcing turnovers. So
yeah,
I think you're just going to expect some positive regression from Arizona, which is unfortunate because we talked about how the Seahawks need to get stuff turned around. Like, Arizona doesn't. They just need regression to the mean. So that's not a great combination for them coming into this week.
yeah.
Um, but it should be an entertaining game. I mean, I was looking forward to this one as a Thursday night game coming up in here because I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, I will say, like, that doesn't it does make sense that Arizona is giving up a good amount of points, because when you look at the defense, there are, Will Johnson is good. He'll get better by the end of the year in terms of rating and stuff, especially with how he's playing in real life. But he came in at a 75. They don't really have much at the edge or interior. Like, there's just really not much to speak of on defense. So I'm not surprised to see them give up a lot of points. But like you said, you should expect some regression to the mean. And if they're off, what you want to make sure of is that the offense just remains consistent, which that's really where they have the bright spots on the team. I mean, Trevor Lawrence in here has a high rating. He's simmed pretty well over the past few years. Kamara, so you just have to hope that the offense stays consistent when the defense does start getting some regression back to the mean in terms of scoring.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, it's that one game they decided to kick a field goal. They could have easily been 1-1-1 off of that game. So it's like, you could have missed the fourth down, but they got in a shootout overtime loss to Carolina, who's 2-1.
Yeah.
And so, you still feel pretty good at where you're at. Just, a ball bouncing your way is the difference between 2-1 at the very least.
Yeah.
Moving to our next game over in Ireland, I believe. This is Minnesota versus Pittsburgh, technically a Pittsburgh home game. And so this one, Minnesota, disaster start for them.
Yeah.
It's a first percentile, 0th percentile outcome for them in a lot of ways. And it's just, it's kind of a similar deal. We talked about Seattle. They're just not scoring points.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it comes down to. The good news is the Steelers are coming off a game against one of the worst defenses here, even still, with a third of their games being really, really bad for the other team. And they scored 14 points.
Yeah.
Well, so
that's the thing to me into watching this game. I mean, you and I have talked about like how at least my offense has been a bit out of sync, and your offense has been a bit out of sync and tough to get back on to a solid path. So really, to me, this game is it's two offenses that are just trying to find their footing. The thing I would say is that your defense just strikes a little bit more fear than I think Minnesota's does. Not that Minnesota has a weak defense, but I just think you look at your defense, and I think that's a little bit harder to push back against than Minnesota's.
Yeah, looking at yards allowed stake, Minnesota is 12 to 18 range, and I have the 4th lowest yards allowed so far of the year.
Yeah.
Points is a little closer, but overall, that's kind of the differences we're talking about between the two is the defenses. The offenses are pretty similar to you. They're going to be in the same bracket of points scored and yards gained and stuff like that. But the problem is that you would expect Minnesota to gain a lot more yards in neutral games. So it's like, why isn't that offense clicking yet? That sort of thing. They've got to figure it out, and they've got to figure it out fast.
Yeah.
Because their whole division's winning these games. But overall, I don't have truly too many takes for how the Vikings have really struggle this far out of the gate. They're losing turnover battle by 1, but like, I mean, it's so early. Like, what are you going to take away from a 1 difference on the turnover battle? It's not like I can look to for a couple other teams to say, yeah, you know what, their turnover battle might be the example for this, right? It's like 3 or 4. Like, it's not to the point where it's like you're losing by 1 a game. They've lost by 1 overall. So it's just some, unfortunate interceptions, like timing wise, have hurt. But overall, I don't think I'd call it a panic button, but it's the whole division's winning games. So I think everybody's 2-1.
Yeah,
no, Detroit's 1-2. So Green Bay and Chicago are 2-1. So it hasn't quite ran away from them yet, but
yeah, I will say that the thing that makes me a little less concerned is Chicago's 2-1. They're not a bad team. You should have pulled that one out, but you win some, you lose some. Atlanta's a pretty solid team, and Cincinnati is a pretty solid team. So the 3 teams that they've lost to are all teams that are expecting to be playoff teams. Now that's you want to do well against those teams. You want to fare a lot better than 0-3 against likely playoff teams, but could just be a couple of random, poor draws. So at least you're not losing to teams that you're like, oh wow, this team is brutal. We absolutely should have pulled this one out. There's a little bit of a cushion there, I think, for you to still have some hope left. But I think we talked about
their schedule is very slanted towards good ACFL teams.
I was just going to get.
They don't really have a lot of those games. It's like, and he talks about it in general too. It's like he doesn't got a lot of like get back games, and especially not in this run. Like once you hit like 0-6, like it's over. So it's like they got to get one of these. They got to steal one this week. They got to steal a couple, and then 2 of the next 3, just to kind of get right against these playoff teams. And then keep themselves in the hunt. Just because they don't have – we talked about Seattle, how we feel like they can make a run because their schedule looks like there's lanes for it.
Yeah.
There's not those lanes for Minnesota in the same way.
It's really like Cleveland is their one because you get Cleveland and then you get the bye. But Cleveland's also a road game, and I think that's also an international game as well. So I don't know how much that'll play into the sim aspect. I don't know how much the sim incorporates the international aspect of it. But yeah, it's like Cleveland, Washington, and that's really about it. The whole season, every other game is like there's a reasonable case to make that this team could make the playoffs.
Yeah, or at the very least, like you're thinking of them winning 7 or 8 games, and the league's just deep enough with good teams. Yeah. Like 7 or 8, not going to make the playoffs, but like if you're scrappy in these games, like you're still a pretty good team with these, especially with the sim variants. But it'll be interesting to see how that game plays out. Just because both of these teams feel more shaky, but one of them's 2 wins, so I feel good about that. That at least I've won the games that I feel bad about. But we're gonna change gears because these 2 teams have nothing to feel bad about in almost any way. That is Tennessee and Houston, both 3-0, both teams that we didn't necessarily expect to be there. My main stat for this one is that Tennessee has the top offense by yards, is second in total points scored to Buffalo, has the second best defense by yards and points.
It's that Bo Nix mania, man.
The Bo Nix mania is so here. They have got a significant gap in offensive yards, especially over third place, like 150 yards at this point in the year over third place. Like, and defensively, they are 15 yards behind the other team in this matchup, Houston, having the best defense by points and yards. So it's going to be a matchup of defenses, which I don't think we were expecting coming into the year, that these are going to be 2 elite defenses coming into this game.
So that's what's funny to me, because as you're talking about this, I'm like, well, this feels like a game where everyone's like, all right, cool, this will be fun. It's 2 3-0 teams. Like, they're both playing pretty well. This feels like the kind of game where it's like super disappointing. This game might end like 3-2 because it feels like there's just going to be a heavy.
That would not be disappointing. That'd be so fun.
That's fair. But like, the end would be fun, but the way there would be a little rough. Because like you're just expecting like a heavy regression. because like was it Tennessee has played Denver, the Rams, and Indianapolis. Indianapolis is 0-3. Denver is 2-1, so that's pretty good. And then the Rams are 0-3. Not that I think that the Rams are that bad of a team, but like they've struggled a bit. The Texans have played the Rams, Tampa Bay, and Jacksonville, which is just the Rams will probably. I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have picked the Rams to make the playoffs. I know that they did last year, but I think they kind of just had a lot of bounces go their way, and I think that that would have balanced out this year. But like Tampa Bay and Jacksonville is their combined record right now is 1-5, uh, and with the Rams in the mix, it's 1-8. So they've been beating
Yeah.
some pretty poor teams, and I don't think either one of these teams is a legitimate 3-0 team. So the fact that they've been playing really well against those, this just feels like it's going to be one of those games where you doesn't live up to the hope that I think people have for it, given the records and how they've simmed so far.
That may be true, but either way, I mean, we talked about it coming into like the recap live too. It's just like these two teams being at 3-0.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to feel over the moon for both of these teams, kind of in transition to an extent. Houston moving on from Baker and Tennessee moving on from Derrick Henry.
yeah,
Tennessee has no running backs left. Every one of them's been hurt. Like
yeah.
Pacheco hurt, Dwodo hurt. Like, and they're still the best rushing team.
Yeah.
So
I will say, like, no matter what, this game will be fun because of how the division is playing out. It looks like it's going to be a two-team race between the Titans and the Texans for the division. So this game will matter. We will probably be looking back at this game towards the end of the season, unless Jacksonville can pull something out and there's some big switch up in the division. This looks like it's going to be the race for the division between these two teams.
Which is what we would have predicted coming in.
Yeah.
I just don't think we would have predicted these two teams to also be 3-0 at this point.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, kind of the difference is we'd have expected them to each kind of drop one of these games because we didn't think they'd be at the level where they would have been bulletproof at this point.
Yeah.
Even against the bad teams.
I think you would have expected both to be 2-1 with some fairly mediocre performances, even in the victories.
For sure. Yeah. Moving on. Detroit hosting Cleveland. Not been the start for Cleveland that you would have hoped for, the rookie quarterback, kind of hoping to surround him with talent. They invested a lot in it. Obviously, Rashee Rice getting suspended early in the year instead of what we were thinking was going to be more late in the year has hurt that. They haven't quite been in a dismal passing offense. They're, bottom third, but high-end bottom third. So at least you can say, well, we've been a middle of the pack offense. They just can't score.
Yeah.
Like, they have 10 points a game, the third worst in the league. And it's really only third worst in the league because, I mean, there's three really bad teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it's been. So that's kind of what it is. I mean, it's not really turnovers killing them. I think, Cam's doing a good job of at least not turning it over. But also, I think what I would say to him and to as a Browns fan, just thinking about it, like, I would rather him have turned the ball over 5 times at this point in the year for some juice. Like, let's give us something here. Even if we're going to lose still, let's try to sling this around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Try to grow through it, essentially, just to see. I mean, you don't know what exactly it's going to look like once you turn it loose, but he's only turned the ball over 1 time. It was on a fumble, too. Shift act. He didn't throw a pick yet. That's great, but at the same point, you would just hope for maybe a little bit more explosiveness when you're going to be the underdog in these games.
I agree. I'm going to zag a little bit. I think that's great for the Rookie of the Year numbers.
It might be, but if he's not going to have the yardage, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, but if he swings, I think at a certain point, especially like people are impressed with how he's playing in real life. If he keeps improving in that regard. I think that the yards will come, and keeping the interceptions low, especially when the rating is at its lowest, I think will be looked at as a win come the end of the season.
I don't trust Tennessee Titans pass catchers and blockers to do much for him at all to keep him afloat.
His rating.
I think he's going to be.
His rating's still going to go up in the sim though.
Oh, sure, it's gonna go over in the semi at least, yeah. So I guess there is that. But on the other side, where's the offense, Detroit? Like, they are the 5th lowest passing yards. So, and they aren't very good running the ball either necessarily to kind of balance that out. They're a bottom 10 offense. They're worse offense than the Browns are right now. So that's the question. It's just, are we going to, because this team did need to have the offense. Like, they weren't going to be a team that was like going to dominate you defensively. They're hoping to be middle of the pack. That's about where they are. So where is it? Like, we got to get golf rolling.
Yeah. Well,
if they can.
Here's the interesting thing to me with both of these teams. The Lions' first 3 games, Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, 3 pretty good teams. The Browns' first 3 games, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Green Bay. So they've both played. They both played Baltimore and Green Bay, and the Lions have played Chicago, and the Browns have played the Bengals. So that's their 2 divisional games. So their schedule so far pretty almost identical, really. I know it's only 3 games, but almost identical. So it doesn't surprise me really to see both teams having their struggles because they've played 3 pretty solid to really good teams to start off the season. So I think that this is kind of an opportunity for both of them to kind of reveal to us who they are, which is why I'd be picking the Lions pretty heavily in this one because I think that the Browns. I think you look come into the season and you're like, all right, this team's probably going to be closer to a top 7, probably a top 10 pick, and the Lions are going to be a fringe wild card team. That's kind of how I would have looked at both rosters coming into the season. So I think that this is probably more likely a game where the Lions find their footing a little bit on offense and are able to do a little bit of damage.
Yeah, I hope so for their sake. Like, I think that they're a dangerous enough team if they can get this thing rolling that, Kenneth Walker's looking good in his carries. Like, their run game's looking pretty solid. Like, when they're getting actual carries on it, they've just got to be able to convert these third downs. They got to move the ball through the air better to balance this out. So hopefully they can put that piece there. Obviously, they have had a little bit of a changing of the guard in the receiver room. Tyreek gone, going to Debo. They need Keon Coleman to kind of step up and have that early season success his rookie year. He kind of tailored off near the end of the year. If they can get that run of him back, like 80 yards a game and a touchdown, was what he was running for like 6 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
They need that back in this offense badly, so they got to get him right.
I did want to look this up real quick because I saw both the Cleveland, Detroit, 2, cliche tough Midwestern cities. The Browns all time versus the Lions are 5-16. It's 2 franchises that have not had a lot of success. I thought it was going to be a lot closer to 500 between the 2 of them, but yeah, the Browns are 5-16 all time against the Lions. So I don't think that
which is just rough because like the Lions are known as like the perennial dumpster fire of the league, and like for the Browns to never get one up on them, even with like you thought they would have had like their 50s runs where they would have like piled it up on them or something.
Yeah, no, even in the 50s throughout they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times between 1950 and 1969. The Browns only won 1 time.
Yeah, like that would have been the time you thought.
Yeah.
So that's tough. That's no doubt. Next game here, Chargers heading to New Jersey to take on the Giants. Giants, obviously, excellent start to the year, exactly as you drew it up. They haven't always been a team that simmed very well, but they are putting it together now. Top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Exactly as you thought this team would be. Yeah, the Chargers, on the other hand, ran into an absolute buzzsaw last week in the Broncos. Like, Sam Darnold is out here looking like Tom Brady, just dealing all over the place. So that's a tough one because they're that away from being 2-1. Yeah. It hasn't looked as pretty for the Chargers, but, I mean, Herbert really started figuring it out near the end of that last week. It just didn't matter because Sam Darnold was God.
Yeah. What is it? Genius QB or what was his nickname?
What was? God, I don't know. I can't pull it off the top of my head. Whatever. I know what you're talking about though.
But yeah, I mean, we've kind of gotten on Bert's case a little bit over the past few years for being cheap, and he went out and he spent on some talent, getting players like Mike Evans, and he brought in Jalen Ramsey too, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going out and getting some star-studded talent to try to compete in this division, especially with a team that has a lot of star talent in Philly, and Philly's off to a hot start, 3-0. So the Giants being able to keep pace with them, getting 2 division wins early on, like they're 2-0 in the division right now. Granted, it's against Washington and Dallas, who have both. Washington's not a very good team, and Dallas has underperformed. I think given their not that their roster is spectacular, but I think that even the way that they've played in their 3 games has left a lot to be desired. So big, like really, like you said it perfectly. Like this is exactly how you drew it up. They've only had to Kansas City is like their toughest competition, so that was a big win last week for them. Um, but then, yeah, I mean the Chargers they've fallen back a bit since they made ACFL Super Bowl 2, I believe. Yeah, it was the second one. Um, right? Yeah,
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 they didn't win a playoff game last year. They
yeah,
did make it, I'm pretty sure. So they still won like 10 or 11 games.
yeah,
So they were still pretty good. And I think they won 10 or 11 games during the regular season. They just were, I mean, they went on a run.
yeah.
But the big thing is the key cogs of that run were Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Like those 3, and they're all gone now. Mike Williams retired. Keenan went to Kansas City. He was older anyway. He wasn't going to be what they needed. And Hunter Henry left in free agency to go to Houston, maybe.
Yeah. So that
I'm
was
trying to remember off the top of my head.
That was kind of the point that I was building towards, was like they had key contributors on those teams, and they just haven't really been able to find equal replacements. They've done some work on the offensive line, but the offensive line still leaves a little bit to be desired.
Which obviously Slater going down really, I mean,
Yeah,
I think they had the pieces in place to do it this year.
yeah,
Slater being down, and then Dominic Pooney, who is going to be, their number 1 lineman after him, playing left tackle probably.
yeah.
He goes down week 1 right away. So they've
It's-
had to really cobble this together.
It's kind of like they've just been in a retool, and they've had some success during the retool, but this was kind of a year I expected them actually to be a little bit down from where they were the last year or two. Not terribly so, probably like 8 wins. But yeah, so this is a 1-2 start. Does not have a great, does not give you like great confidence for another 10-win season. But if they can pull one out here against the Giants, you're 2-2. You've got to win against a really good team. You're starting to that juice is right back, I think. So it's not lost. The season's, you're not too worried here, and this isn't a game that you should expect to win. But it's a game where if you do win, it's like, all right, cool, we're back, we're solid. We don't have to worry too much. Although, like you said, with the injuries they've had, I think you lean a little bit more towards the Giants extending it out to 4-0 after this one. And after this, they get New Orleans, and then they get a big primetime matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they've got a fun schedule coming up.
Yeah, this is definitely a ramp up to their big test for sure. They passed all of the quizzes, and it's coming up time for the exams. So we'll see how they stack up coming into that one. Regardless of how this outcome comes, like that's really where we're gonna figure out their medal essentially.
Yeah, I do think that like having Kansas City and LA back-to-back weeks, it is an opportunity for them to really be like, all right, cool, we're legit. We can beat teams that have good rosters. We're not going to stumble like we did last year. We're going to be consistent. We're going to be good, and that'll if they can, then they can just kind of bombard New Orleans or handle business there. You roll into that Philadelphia game with a lot of momentum.
Yep, 100%. For the Chargers, if they're going to win this game, I think they've got to get Shakir going.
Yep.
He's their only legit weapon that's like that. They got to get him the ball more than they do because they rely a lot on spreading it out pretty evenly. I think we feature him more in a style like a Cooper Cup role, slot guy, trying to get him really going, just to get him touches, essentially. Um, so we'll see if they can get him the ball more, because it's really all they got. Like,
Yeah.
they're not looking at a ton of other options that are going to be explosive for him. So that's kind of what I see from them. Next game up, our first half of our glorious tie last week, Washington heading to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. So did you get a chance to catch the tie? That was a really interesting and fun game.
I was listening to that one. I was like half paying attention to it. I was cleaning out my garage when it was on. I know that there was some weirdness towards the end in overtime. Like they went for a Hail Mary when they could have just they could have tried for a really long field goal, I think was the case.
They could have tried for some more yards. They had a timeout, and they could have just tried the field goal from there, but They just went Hail Mary. Yeah, and on the other side, the Raiders could have ran at least one more play and then called the timeout to kick the field goal and didn't. So it's
the classic Madden gifting us a tie, which I'd have to fact check this, but I think we've had a tie every single season so far.
I'll raise you. I think the Raiders have tied 4 times.
It's possible. It's definitely.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure there's 3, because it's 2 years of Dolphins Raiders ties.
Yeah.
And then this year, so it's at least 3 of them. But I feel like there was one other one too.
I'll definitely. I think I'm gonna fact check that once. Maybe tomorrow. I'll look into that.
The 4 Raiders just cannot escape a tie. But other than that, I don't really have too many takes. The Falcons defense is back. We talked about how their rebuild of the defensive line, especially through the draft, was such a key part of their offseason.
Yeah.
And they've got 10 sacks. They've allowed only 41 points. That's 4th best.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're hoping for early returns on that side. Double-digit sacks, forcing a couple turnovers. That's huge for them. The offense, it's fine. It could definitely use a little bit of a shot in the arm. We'll see if they can get that rolling a little bit more. Scoring 16 points a game. 15 points a game. Sorry, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And that's why they're not 3-0. Essentially, the offense just wasn't going good enough. But hard to complain about being 2-1 still.
Yeah, I think that looking at this team, I like their interior defensive line. Derek Harmon, I was a huge fan of when he was coming out. I do wonder if there is going to be a little bit. Their corners are really nice. They have some weakness in the secondary. I was looking at their roster over the past few days. I think they could use another safety or two. I don't know, but it's not vital. I do think that they're going to slink back a little defensively, but they're still probably going to be a top half of the league defense, especially with Trent McDuffie and AJ Terrell. That's good enough. Greg Rizzo over there on the edge. And I think Derek Harmon's going to do well enough in real life that rating is going to go up, because after him, rating-wise, they don't have a ton behind him.
I mean, Jeremy Cardwell is playing really well. If EA catches on to that and starts giving him boosts, he's going to be the duo for him.
I think that'll be like a big thing to monitor throughout the season is how much growth their interior defensive line has throughout the season, and that could stave off any kind of regression that they might have and might keep them in the place where they are right now, because it is a good defense. They've done well with their investments there. I really like the Atlanta Falcons team, especially with Baker at quarterback for the next 2 years. I think they're in a really good spot to continue to add pieces to this defense and even on the offense, and then let Baker walk and take your shot at a cheap rookie quarterback contract. So I really like the Atlanta Falcons roster right now.
Yeah, it's kind of always been missing some completeness as far as as we've looked at it the last few years, but they've always had it where it counts. They have always been able to put together a good defensive line. The corners, after that McDuffie pick, they were always set and they knew it. So they've acted like it, which is great.
I mean, I'm a big O-line guy, and this O-line, Linderbaum, Chris Lindstrom, Batonio, Penei Sewell, Jake Matthews, that probably has a case for the best offensive line in the league, or at least we have some really good offensive lines in the ACFL. They're definitely one of the top 5.
Yeah, which I mean that's the other thing. The Sewell pick, obvious home run.
Yep.
Linderbaum, they took that shot in the first round, and that's been like a anchoring piece for them.
Yep.
You know, there's always been one guard open, but hey, listen, you get 4 elites, you'll take whatever you can get on the 5th spot, essentially. Just trying to get a solid person, which they have this year. They got some decent depth, I think, too, which has been their issue. So I think they're set up. They've just got to put the pieces together on that offense. Get Puka Nacua going more. Because Puka Nacua, like, such an insane run of drafting for this team.
Yeah.
Putting in these spots. You put Greg Rousseau on the edge. You get Nacua at wide receiver. I mean, you can't really ask for too much more as you're building out this team. It just got to put the finishing touches on it and see if they can't get this thing humming at a high level.
Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of humming at a high level, Carolina Panthers.
The team of destiny, if there ever was one in the ACFL.
The team of destiny. They stumbled a little bit last week. I think it was last week. They lost one game. I think it was last week. Whatever. We cursed them to oblivion.
It was last week.
They're still scoring. It was last week, yes.
2-1.
Yep. So it was last week. They stumbled because we cursed them, but 16 points per game still. I mean, they're still the same old Panthers in a lot of ways.
Here's the thing with a quick their stumble was to Atlanta, the team we were just talking about. So it's not even like a bad stumble. They lost to a good team.
And it's a divisional game too. Those are always going to be wacky. Yeah. So, this is versus New England. I don't really have any takes on New England. New England knows what they are.
Yep.
I think you were hoping that your passing yards wasn't going to be second lowest in the league right now. But you're starting dart. You're just hoping to put it together over the course of the year. And hopefully by midseason, you're scoring more than 8.7 points a game.
Yeah. Right. The only thing I can really say for New England is I think that they're excited that Jackson Dart's starting in real life. So they're going to get to see some of him in real life and seeing, how much they're going to have to lean into trying to get him or hope for him to get Rookie of the Year. But beyond that, that's really all this season is about. This is a rebuilding team that.
Well, that and you have Alton Membo going crazy on the sides that they have them on too, left and right.
Yeah.
So that's got to feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got the bookend tackles. Now you're just hoping that you land the quarterback. And that's really what the season's about. If you walk out of the season being like, all right, we feel good about Dart. Hopefully maybe he's got the Rookie of the Year on his side if we still have some question marks. But we've also got the tackles. So we don't have to worry really about heavy investment on the offensive line. We have some flexibility in where we can target our draft picks for the future. So it's really all I have to say about New England. Because like you said,
I don't have much to say about Carolina either, because it's like they're just the team of destiny. What are we going to say about them? They're going to keep doing their thing.
You can try to stop them, but God is here to tip the scales.
Yeah, the defense isn't looking great right now for Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like they're going to need better than 4th worst scoring defense on their side.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a little harsh on them as far as where I think they're going to end up, but not too far off either. So that's it. I mean, it's just the defense got to play a little bit better and they can avoid the slip up. But I mean, they've got plot armor, so it doesn't really matter what happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of plot armor, Josh Allen. Are we back? He said he's gone through it. He has suffered his trials and tribulations, and he has come out the other side leading league in passing touchdowns by 3.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks. And averaging 4 a game.
And beating Baltimore and the Jets. Like Miami is 2-1, but I'm not sure if either of us are like a firm believer in that record for them. But
that's the thing. So Miami has always beaten the Bills.
Yeah.
This is the rock paper scissors of the AFC East. Is you always lose to the Bills, you always beat the Dolphins always beat the Bills.
Yeah.
It's like 4-1 or 5-1 or whatever those ways the last 3 years. So they got the monkey off their back in a sense last week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm happy to see it. I like Josh Allen a lot. He's a good quarterback. He's fun to watch, and I really like the job that Buffalo has done in investing in the areas that we felt were weak in their team. I mean, going out and getting Vita Vea was just huge. I think. I think that move was one of the single biggest moves in the ACFL for any team, because I think you look at that move, it legitimized them. I think that it just added an element to their defense that allowed them to win some of these games that they lost in the past, because interior defensive line, if I'm remembering correctly, was a pretty big weak point for them. And I think that like once they got that piece in there, it just unlocked something in them. And I think if anything, if we're the psychology of these sim counterparts, I think Josh Allen saw that and he was like, "All right, cool, we're going for it. They're investing in this team. I'm going to dig a little deeper."
Yep, I got more in me.
Yeah.
On the other side, I want to touch on it. There's no takes I have for the Saints except for they looked really good for about 2.5 quarters, and then Kyler went down.
Yeah.
So they've got to get Kyler back. It's great to win a game while he's out. Jimmy G quarterbacked him to one win. It hasn't looked necessarily very pretty on the stat sheet for him, but they just got to hold water until Kyler can come back and maybe they can go on a run, because they did look really good with him in.
Yeah, it's sucks for them to lose Kyler. They do have Jimmy G, so I think he's not a bad. I think he's a very lowly rated quarterback, but I think he's the kind of quarterback who can just kind of steady the tide. He's not going to wow you by any means, but you can get him to give you a performance where he just doesn't do too much terrible stuff and keeps you in the game. So I wouldn't be too worried about them over the next few weeks. Obviously, especially having Jamar Chase and Darnell Mooney and Rashid Shaheed, like they've got the pieces on the offense to carry Jimmy G for a little bit. So yeah, I'm not too worried about them in the long run. And when they get Kyler Murray back, I think that could be an exciting offense. We said when they made that move, like at least they have the potential to light up the scoreboard.
Yeah, and this is all the young guys on defense who got to start balling essentially. So they'll get some growth here, and then hopefully they're ready for some big time performances when the time comes for that. So moving on to our next game, Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia. Obviously, as the saying goes, good teams win, great teams cover. The Buccaneers cover. So we're looking at about a 10.5 point spread, and they're probably going to cover it comfortably. This Bucs team, just an absolute unit of a defensive line so far this year. It's been really funny watching them make every team they play against feel really bad despite winning the game. And they beat the Falcons too, so it's not just that. This is the 5th best defense by yards and 6th best technically by points by 1 to the Raiders. So take that as you will, but yeah, it's just been a great defense, and that's what they told us too. They told us it was going to be a great defense coming in.
Which I just don't understand. Like, I like some of the pieces on their defense, but like from a rating standpoint, this is not a defense that should be like. I don't know how you go into this season being like, yeah, we got a good defense. Like, don't worry about it. We got a good defense. Like, it's not an awful defense. I really like Jihad Campbell. Like, he was one of my favorite rookies coming into this. I love that pick. But like outside of that, it's not like Jonathan Cooper is their best edge rusher. Unless the sheet is just I'm looking at an outdated ratings on the sheet. Jamel Dean's their only cornerback in the 80s. Alante Taylor's a 75 overall, according to the sheet. So like I just don't know how this defense is doing it. Because I think you look at the team and you're I like the offense a little bit more than I guess Antoine Winfield Jr. is a huge piece for them.
How many times do you have to teach you this lesson, old man? It's about vibes.
Yeah, I guess so.
The vibes are just immaculate on the defensive end, and they are balling. However, the vibes are not immaculate on offense, which is why they aren't 3-0 with this good of a defense, because they are scoring 11.3 points a game.
Yeah.
That's going to have to change this week if they're going to be able to keep up with the Eagles specifically, who do an all right job moving the ball, third best. They also do a decent job putting the points up on the board, also third best.
Yeah.
So they're gonna need to put up some to do it. But I just know, I mean, they're gonna drag this team down to their level, and you know they're going to. And it's gonna be fun to watch for everybody that isn't Strauss.
So here, I think that the only way they end up dragging the Eagles down is somebody on this defense takes a little bit of a bounty on the side, and Tanya Harding's or Nancy Kerrigan's Saquon Barkley. Because I just don't like this Eagles offense is just it's a juggernaut, it's a beast, and I still think that there's this Tampa Bay defense is it's going to level out and it's going to look more how their roster actually looks. And again, not that it's going to be like a bottom tier defense, but like I don't think it's going to end the season as a top 5, top 10 defense. So I think this might be one of the games where they just don't have enough, and they kind of have a little bit of a reckoning on how good their defense actually is.
All right, we'll see who wins.
I will say
the logical argument of I don't think they're going to be as good as this, or nuh-uh.
I'm illiterate when it comes to vibes, so I'm probably wrong.
We'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to be a test to their vibes, yeah. But I do respect somebody standing on business and being so far correct. I'm a big fan of that, so go them. Next game up, our team that feels worse about the tie, I think, Raiders playing host to the Bears. Do we think that Jaden Daniels is going to ever complete 60% of his passes in the game in the ACFL?
Out of sheer cope, no.
Because it has not gone well for him as far as actually completing the football. And he's had great games, and they all end up being like 57% completion percentage. We're just like, how does this keep happening? I don't know. He throws it away so often in the sim. Like, you'll just look and you'll be like, all of a sudden you'll just see 3 throwaways in a row. And you'll be like, well, that's why you only complete 57% of your passes.
It's my biggest complaint with Madden is that the AI, if you were to play against the computer, these quarterbacks would be running like it was their first instinct. But when you set it up as like computer, they stand back there forever until the point where like they have to scramble and there's not a real running lane, and even if there is, they still throw it away anyway. Like, it's maddening watching how often Drake May will take off and run in real life. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. Same thing with Jaden Daniels. And then to watch the Sims and all these quarterbacks just stand there and just never run.
Jaden Daniels is just not a runner. He's a thrower. But yeah, it's always frustrating. The Bears, also sneaky team of destiny with our Panthers. They do seem to find a way. So they're fun to watch because they just always kind of put it together. Some part of me wants to think it's more legitimate when the Bears do it, but also it's almost always relying on a Jalen Johnson pick six. So maybe not.
I think this year, I think you can make a case that any of their successes is more legitimate than it was last year. Especially because last year they had a lot of luck with Will Levis in the start of the year. They made a midseason trade for Stafford, and I think that kind of legitimized them. But they went out, they got Ayuk. Who else did they add on this team? You still got Kyer Elam, who's got an 82 overall. Alex Highsmith is a well-rated edge. Their interior defensive line's not great, but it's not bad. They've got some solid players up front. Roquan Smith, like, they've got guys. They've got a solid roster. You look at this roster and I'm like, that's a 10-win team.
Yeah, I think that they are playing as expected to this point.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they can, put another notch in their belt here and kick the Raiders while they're down.
Yeah.
But the Raiders are going to be out without McCaffrey this week too. So kind of a key part of their moving the ball strategy without Jaden being efficient is running the ball. So Jaden's just going to have a good game. And it's not against an easy defense, as we've seen time and time again.
Yeah.
But moving on, this next game, I don't really have too much to say either. It's the Jags versus Niners. I don't think the Niners 3-0 is necessarily indicative of how good they'll be. I think that, in some extent, I don't expect Rodgers to play as good as he has. So I think that's going to kind of help them fall back to earth a little bit. In the Jags, I kind of expected this, so I don't know. Probably 4-0 for the Niners. But then again, as we have said with the Jags, the only reason the Jags are 0-3 is because we didn't do a prediction show saying that they're going to suck this year.
Yeah.
So maybe now that I've started predicting that they're going to suck, they'll turn it around. If you do, you're welcome. Relax, Pats. Okay, you're welcome. I did my best.
Yeah, I don't know. This Raiders team, like, the only place that I really have an issue with them is their offensive line, which is admittedly terrible.
Like it's pretty rough.
I didn't realize how bad it was until I actually decided to look at the roster just now. It's Isaac Suamalu, and that's it. Everyone else is
Christian Haynes is like decent carryover rookie.
Yeah.
I think he's like 77, 78. So he's a solid guy, but he shouldn't be your best guy or second best guy.
I don't think they have anybody else in the 70s. So at some point, Aaron Rodgers is going to start getting pummeled.
And their starting center, Jacob Monk, just got hurt too. Yeah. So it's never a great sentence to say, your starting center, Jacob Monk, but it's worse when you say he's hurt.
Yeah. Like on the sheet, he has a 65 overall rating. So it's not like I don't know how much worse you can do than that, but like you also don't want to do worse than that at the same time. So I'm kind of surprised that Aaron Rodgers didn't get just accidentally hit in practice with how good this defense is and how bad that offensive line is. But like,
no, they haven't had him practice in a year, so it's fine. You don't practice.
Yeah. So at a certain point,
they got Milrow out there practicing.
Yeah, at a certain point, he's going to start getting hit and pressured. And who have they played? So I'm looking up their schedule real quick. Seattle, New Orleans, and Arizona. So Seattle, I'm surprised didn't put some hurt on Rodgers.
They only scored 17 points, so they didn't necessarily put a bunch of points. It was just Seattle couldn't score.
Yeah, so that makes me feel like it's like, all right, at a certain point, the 49ers are going to get hit by a team, and they're going to stall. They're not going to. I don't know how long they're going to carry this 3-0 record, but at the same time, they've got Jacksonville this week, the Rams, Tampa Bay. So they've got 3 games coming up that should all be winnable, and then they get into Atlanta, Houston, and the Giants.
This is a very favorable schedule. The whole West has got a decent schedule this year, so you feel good about it. Obviously, the Rams did sweep them in the regular season last year, so you're worried about that.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing. The Rams sucked to start the year, and I think their only win for a while was the Niners, and then they started cooking. Yeah. So you're starting to worry about history repeating itself if you let the Niners or the Rams beat you again.
I think ultimately it's a great start for a team that has huge playoff aspirations. But at a certain point, man, you're gonna have to do some work on this offensive line. When you get to the trade deadline and you find out like who are the teams that are looking to tank, you're gonna have to start trading some of these draft picks for some offensive line help.
They don't even have a lot of draft picks. You got to get like 2-for-1 specials. Hit up the discount corner.
They've got a first and a second this year, plus a fourth. Sixth, and they got a first, second, fourth, sixth, and seventh this year. A first, second, third, fourth. They've got all their picks in 2027 and 2028. It's not like they're depleted of draft picks.
They don't have picks on their roster. They've only had like 5 draft picks in 3 years.
Yeah.
So they haven't had any young guys. Rodgers is gone. Like I don't think that you should be putting any premium picks into this team at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think that's wise.
Yeah, I would start with trying to get like mid-70s guys for your 4th round, 6th and 7th round picks, 5th round picks next year. Like those are the picks I would move because you're going to need some young talent. But at the same time, it's like you invested a lot in Rodgers. At a certain point, what you have to kind of admit to yourself that there has to be some prize at the end of this. I don't think you got into the Aaron Rodgers business to just not get to across the goal line over the next 2 years. I'm not advocating for them to trade those picks, but I do think it's something that you at least have to consider. Do you consider giving up picks this year, and that's the last that you do it? And that's only if you can't get away with, like, you might be able to grab a 77, 78 overall for your fourth round pick this year and your fourth round pick next year, and then your offensive line is fine. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, you just gotta grab a couple. Honestly, I mean, even just throwing your six for a couple 70s on teams that are giving up,
yeah,
like
exactly.
something. It just raised the floor from absolute seller to relatively positive.
Yeah, you want to get closest to like league average at least, which is doable with the picks that you have, and you don't have to give away premium picks to do it. So,
and speaking of the seller, Colts versus Rams, not gone great for these teams. They are the two of the bottom four teams in overall offensive yards. The Colts have managed to score a decent amount of points, and by decent, I do mean 15 points per game. The Rams are at 10. So not a great start to the sophomore campaign by Caleb Williams. So after a great end of the year, it has not translated so far. They have not been able to keep all-pro first team Tyler Boyd on that train. And so, yeah, it's not great. Colts third worst defense by points. The Rams are actually a decent by points defense, but by yards they are not. So, yeah, it's not been pretty.
No, but I do think that the Rams have a better. I forgot that they added more than I thought that they did, so I don't mind their roster. I think that this is one of those games where you find your footing against a bad Colts team. I think they're going to get helped out as the season goes on with Egbuka and his rating, because he's been playing really well in real life. To their credit, I mean, Houston has been a solid team so far. They lost to Houston and Tennessee, who are both 3-0. I don't think either one of those teams should be 3-0, but they're also not cellar dwellers. And Philadelphia. So it's not like they've played similar. I think Houston and Tennessee are probably kind of around right where the Rams are in terms of overall roster talent. The Rams may be a slight edge, so it sucks that you'd lose those two games. But I'm not too worried about the Rams record-wise. I don't think they are what their record says they are. The Colts are a lot closer to 0-3.
Colts might be 0-4 already.
Yeah.
At that level. So it's not, this is definitely a get-right game for them. Rams, I'm expecting a huge boost for Simmons and Egbuka for them to really catapult, essentially, offensively out of the cellar into at least respectable. So, I'm not expecting this to last very long. I'm not expecting it to last long if they don't get any boosts. But as of right now, it is looking pretty ugly. It's looking like coaches are on the hot seat level. If they can turn, I mean, okay, like the Browns, new regime. Okay, we got to restart. Commanders, obviously we're in a retool. Indianapolis, were you expecting Justin Fields to carry? But the Rams, I think, are one of the teams just like, what's going on? Like, we snuck in last year, and now we look like we're a mess. So we'll see how that plays out going forward for them. But I'm expecting them to get right, put up a nice game, and feel good about themselves going into the rest of their schedule.
Yeah, agreed.
Baltimore at Kansas City. This one is a weird one for me, looking at it under the hood, essentially, because I don't think Baltimore has played very good. They're 2-1, but the big thing is, of the offenses that have moved the ball the best, they are scoring 10, 15 less points per game than the rest of them. They aren't scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
They got 5 touchdowns on the year. Like, Josh Allen's got almost triple of them.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a team that isn't scoring points. They're moving the ball and not scoring points. So it's like, that's frustrating sitting here. So obviously you expect that to regress some. And their defense has been excellent, top 5 unit. So you feel good overall, but the points thing is just really weird to me as you're looking at it. And for the Chiefs, I mean, the answer is more simple. Your defense sucks right now. It's the second worst defense in the league, and it's the second worst by points too. It's two different teams above them, but that's what it is, though.
Yeah.
You're not stopping anybody. So, in some ways, the Ravens should put it to them this week.
It's definitely a game where I think the Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson has not been as impactful as you'd hoped, given his rating and all that stuff. Like in the entire ACFL, he has not been as impactful as you hoped he would be. But this isn't a week where, they come into this game, they went out, they got young receivers, they hit on Lad McConkey, they sold a lot to go get Marvin Harrison Jr. You still got Mark Andrews, and you're going up against a Kansas City team whose best cornerback is Mekhi Blackman right now. So that it makes sense why Kansas City's defense is struggling so much. They have nothing in the secondary, nothing.
But to your point, they're the best rushing offense by 100 yards, and they're the fourth worst passing offense.
Yeah, so it makes sense because in my testing, I think the Ravens playbook does run the ball a lot, so it makes sense that they're not getting a lot of touchdowns, especially through the air. But that's kind of the playbook you do have to run to make Lamar run the football, and that's when he's at his most effective. Because I think when you give him playbooks that have to stand in the pocket and throw, for some reason the game just makes him throw a lot of interceptions, and it's rough. Maybe that's changed over the past few years, but I mean, it's just one of those things where you hope that this is a game where he shows okay, I can at least take advantage of bad secondaries through the air.
Yeah, at least in the game. You got to do it at this point.
Because this secondary is rough.
I do think it's going to be a shootout. It's very hard to stop Mahomes in any capacity. So I think it's going to be a shootout. And how these games often go is you look at the Ravens, they're more talented, they play better, they rank better, and the Chiefs find a way to win in real life.
Yeah.
Can that script be flipped here this week?
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs they've done a good job of bringing talent back in, but they sent talent out the past few years. So the script hasn't quite been the same. The Chiefs have not been able to win a lot of big games. So, and the Ravens have a very talented team. I mean, especially in the secondary. You want to talk about the Chiefs' weakness. The Ravens have a lot in the secondary.
More than enough in the secondary. It's an embarrassment of riches all around for them. But let's keep it rolling here because this is going to be a game we probably dissect afterwards as much as before. Green Bay at Dallas. Not a very interesting game for me, honestly. I think that we think both these teams are not as good as they've been, and Dallas does only have one win. So, I don't know. Green Bay hasn't moved the ball very well. They haven't scored a lot of points. Their defense has been elite. Don't expect that to hold. For Dallas, I mean, we're not moving the ball well. We're not stopping anybody. I really don't. I don't know where we're expecting this Cowboys team to go other than kind of being a little scrappy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that this is a game where both teams, logically, you're saying, okay, it should level off. Green Bay should come down to 2-2. Dallas should go up to 2-2. Their records start to. I don't think Dallas is a good team, but I think that they're capable. I think both of these teams are kind of capable of 7 wins, and I think that the Cowboys are probably closer to that 7-win total. So logically, this game should go to Dallas in my mind, but I also have just no faith in Dallas at all. And I think this is one of those weeks where if you lose this game to Green Bay and you're 1-3, you're pretty much, especially given the roster disparity, you're completely out of it in the NFC East. You're probably not fighting for a wild card spot. You got to start making some decisions on what you do with this roster because it's just been disappointing every year for them.
Yeah, which they started off better at least than normal Dallas.
Yeah,
but the wheels have fallen off.
Yeah.
the AFC East Bowl here. Jets at Dolphins. Both teams licking their wounds after getting destroyed by the Bills in subsequent weeks. To see who will win the consolation game of the early slate of them. I think that you feel pretty okay about how the Jets have gone. Obviously, last week was a little bit, the hangover of the Bills game, essentially, is I think how I described last week. It was, you got your teeth kicked in, you had to lick your wounds, and had to face a team that is also very scrappy in the Bucks.
Yeah.
But like the Dolphins here, they are a middle of the pack offense. Same with the Jets, but the Jets are scoring 6 more points a game. No, sorry, I looked at the wrong team. I had the wrong highlight. Sorry, they're scoring 2 more points a game. They're moving the ball better through the air. Dolphins are moving the ball better through the ground. So a little bit similar here all around on offense. Defensively, Jets are just a little bit better too. So these are kind of teams playing the same way. I feel like the Jets have probably played better competition than the Dolphins to get here. So I just feel better about the Jets.
Yeah, it's hard for me to go into games, especially with division rivals, feeling good. I like my team. I think that they've done about what I've expected them to do so far. I'm a little surprised about that Tampa Bay game, but not too worried about it. Like, we were able to do what we needed to get done. Um, but I think that the big thing, I haven't checked on Miami's injuries. I think the thing that worries me the most is the Brees Hall injury. Um, Having him out, I don't know how the running game is going to fare. And that has been when he doesn't play well, and he has games where he just doesn't play well. Those tend to be the games where we're like, what's going on offense? What are we doing? What's happening?
Well, I mean, it doesn't help your quarterback can't read a defense, so that's just tough.
All
right, and moving on.
But it looks like the Dolphins don't have any injuries, so yeah, that doesn't.
They do not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, I mean, they had Barrett Tucker go down right before the season, so he's dead, obviously. So that doesn't help. But and they barely got Dickerson back.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they've had their injuries in real life and not in the Sims. So
yeah. So I mean, going into this game, if objectively, I would give the edge to Miami. If you were asking me to set a line and a spread and all that stuff on the game, I would probably give the Miami the favorite. They're at home. They're a little bit healthier. I haven't looked at who they played Indianapolis, New England, and Buffalo. So Buffalo's their only loss. They beat up two teams that might be competing for the top overall pick. So yeah, we've definitely played tougher competition, but I don't know. I think that having the home game, Monday night, prime time, being healthy, I might give the edge to Miami. I'm kind of hoping that they just suffer from like what you said we suffered from in Tampa, where like they just got kicked in the teeth, and we can kind of kick them while they're down a little bit. That would be nice, but gut feeling is Miami takes this game.
Continuing on, our last game we fucked everything up, but our considerably better Monday night slate here, our doubleheader. In real life, this is looking like an absolute snooze fest. This doubleheader is, but here, all these teams are firing on all cylinders. We got a combined record of whatever that math is, 9-2, 9-3, compared to real life where they have like one win. Yeah. So that's great, and we have Cincinnati, fresh off the back-to-back Super Bowl wins, going 3-0, versus Sam Darnold, fresh off his absolutely masterful performance against the Chargers. So this one should be pretty entertaining, I'm hoping. Just a game of Darnold continuing to flex his muscles as the elite quarterback we always knew he would be.
Yeah, I think that I think given the moves that Cincinnati made coming into this season, I think you looked at it and you're like, okay, they've got the back-to-back Super Bowls. They're going to retool a little bit now. So they're going to take a little bit of a step back. They're still going to be a good team, but slight step back. So to come out 3-0, granted it's Cleveland and Jacksonville, and I know Minnesota's 0-3, but Minnesota's a good team. Like that's a big win. So you've had a little help in starting 3-0 with Cleveland and Jacksonville, but I think that's like awesome start to the season for a team that was probably being like, all right, well, we're probably going to be fighting for a wild card spot, and we're going to be good with that because we're going to try to retool this roster. So if you can grab another win here in a game that could potentially end up deciding playoff seeding out of the division winners, potentially, it's a big game for I think both teams really.
Yeah, they are set up. This is the gauntlet to get to their bye week. But I mean, it's Broncos, Lions, Packers, Steelers, Jets, Bears.
Yeah.
So they get most of their AFC North games here in a row, and it's really just like if you can split these, you're at 6-3. You're probably still looking at on top of the division based off I think everybody else's run here.
Yeah.
Anything better than 6-3, and you're looking at coming down the stretch with a real head of steam aiming at that number one seed in the conference.
Yeah.
So they're set up well. They're playing good football as usual. Burrow continues to show that he will be a difference maker in the sim, regardless of how the defense will play. He's just a force to be reckoned with.
Yep.
No way around it. But can Darnold be a bigger force to be reckoned with in this game? Because I've seen Burrow play really well, and I have not seen anybody make the throws that he was making last week. So I'm hoping he continues to sling that thing, preferably away from Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Because that dude doesn't usually work out for these guys. But that's basically every team we've talked about now, at least down the line.
Yep.
We'll obviously be back. Next week we're going to probably do a little more focused topics, but since we missed the weeks, we wanted to kind of cover everybody quickly. So
yeah.
If we hate on your team, just know that that's personal and we don't like you. If we hyped your team up, just know that we didn't mean it and it was all a joke, okay?
Couldn't have said it better myself. So,
all right, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.